Welcome, friends. This is Spoonful. My name is Lauren, and I'm in the garden today. It has been neglected for over a week due to vacation, and I'm pretty darn happy with what we are seeing. Come check it out. So we have two cushaw growing out of this gigantic cushaw plant. Holy smokes. And then when we step over here, anything there? I got a couple flowers, but I don't see anything. I see one. It is an acorn squash. Can you see it? Hi, guy. And then Patty Pan, of course. She's been showing out this summer. Let me grab them, because I've been truly happy with the Patty Pan. Looks like the deal has all gone to seed, which sucks because I bet I got cucumbers over there that need to be plucked. It happens every year. My Hungarian squash is huge. The plant itself, not a single fruit on it, guys. Collard greens back there is dead. And spin around. These are tomato plants. Not this. This is a weed that's trying to take over. But tomato plants. I'm gonna give everybody some feeding and see what they do. This bed was completely taken over by weeds after the black eyed peas died. Now that I am inside, I have a handful of chives. I actually split this bundle with my mother. So I'm going to go ahead and get these chopped up and into the freezer. We freeze chives because we just pull out a little bit and sprinkle it over potatoes. We also put it on top of eggs. So I don't do any other preservation with it other than just freeze it. You could freeze dry this. I don't have a freeze dryer. And you could dehydrate it. I find that when I dehydrate chives, they are too crunchy and hard. And then when you rehydrate them, it turns into sort of a mush. So for us, we just chop them and freeze them. And it's a very simple thing that goes quite a long way in the winter. All right, so number 2 that we got out the garden is the green tops to green onions. I once again split a big bundle or medium-sized bundle with my mom, and I'm going to chop these up. We will have some for dinner tonight, and then the rest I will store in the freezer so that we can still pull it out and put it on our meals throughout the winter. Eventually, when the green will start to dry back, we will pull all of it out the garden and slice the white parts and freeze them too. But in the meantime, we're going to get the tops of the green onions chopping because they are growing. All right, so the last thing we're going to do today is to blanch the green beans from the garden. We got a nice size fistful of green beans from the plants. These plants are pretty much going out. They have been producing all month of July. So new plants have been put into the ground, and these guys, they're pretty much dead. They're done. So what I'm going to do is add this to a bag of green beans that are sitting in our freezer. And that way we can have some green beans. So I'm going to go ahead and get these snapped. They are stringless. And go ahead and get them blanched and placed into the freezer bag that I have full of green beans from this summer. And we'll be able to have a servings of green bean, maybe green bean casserole this winter. And then I'm growing enough to can this winter. We're going to kick off the next day with some raw cream. The farmer had a lot of raw cream for the last 2 weeks, and I made sure that I grabbed some this week because I'm not sure if it'll be available next week. We're going to turn this into a herb butter. So we just dump it right into a blender. This is probably the easiest method that I have figured out over the time. And just put it on low. So this Ninja blender does pretty much all the work. It knows exactly when to stop. It's going to stop really soon. As you can see, the butter start to separate from the whey and cluster together. Once that happens, I'm going to just pour out the whey right into a mesh. That mesh is sitting over a bowl so that I could collect all the whey possible. And I'm going to just use a spatula to clean the blades off a little bit and begin to scoop all the butter into the strainer or net. Very easy. Not much effort is done on my behalf at this point. You can do as much as you want. This was just a pint of raw cream. You probably could get away with up to 2 quarts. I wouldn't go much more than that. I don't know if the blades will actually get the upper half of the blender. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press a little bit of the buttermilk out of this butter through the mesh, but not too much because you can actually push the butter through the net or the strainer. So I'm just going to give a little light tap and see if any comes out. And then guess what? Save that buttermilk. Yes, that will not go to waste. Save that buttermilk. You will enjoy it later. Now comes the messiest part of butter making, which is keeping your hands wet and cold and actually pushing more buttermilk out of the butter as much as you possibly can. I do it on the side of the bowl, that way I can drain out any other buttermilk that keeps coming out of the butter. Just make sure you don't fold it right back in because that can happen. It'll just make the process longer and longer. You want all the buttermilk to come out as much as possible or else it'll make the butter sour and you wouldn't want that maybe on toast. If that happens, if I have soured the butter due to too much buttermilk left in the butter, I would just mark it as baking and I'll throw it in when I'm cooking something. It won't be bad as this will sit in our freezer until we actually need it. Now over at the sink, I will use cold water to kind of keep my hands cold, squeeze any more buttermilk out that I could possibly keep out. If there's buttermilk on the butter, I'll just kind of rinse it off. That's what you see me tucking it back under the water real quickly. And that is it. It is a very quick process, especially if your blender is involved. If you do butter churning by hand, I cannot guarantee the outcome because I've never done that. And then let's get to the best part about it, the herbs. That is rose or oregano and basil from my garden from like 2 days ago. And I am definitely gonna get these all thinly sliced and chopped up so that we can have this inside the butter. The rest of those herbs I'm going to hang up and dry in the kitchen over another day or so. Those herbs are going to taste so good in the butter. When we do something as simple as a steak this winter, a dollop of that basil, oregano, butter on top of a steak will be so good. I'm telling you guys, do not miss out on opportunity to make your own flavored butter or compote butter. I'm throwing in about a half a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mix it all together. Very easy process. It is so good. I actually took a little scoop of it and put on some toast that night to make sure it actually tastes good, and it was so good. One thing about using grass-fed butter is the color. It's hard to tell from here, but it was so yellow compared to the store-bought butter. Remember the buttermilk? Well, that went into some cornbread the next day as we were finishing up a very simple project, which was the leftover oregano and basil that I hung up to dry. All I do is grab a little bag and the stems, and I just slide all the little leaves off into the bag or glass container. We will do something with those towards the end of the month because we have another big project right on that. I am about to make strawberry jam. Yeah, strawberries were in season months ago. Matter of fact, the season around here is about May. But we were so busy in May trying to end the school year, conference, taking care of medical needs. Everything was just too chaotic. So I threw everything in the freezer with the guarantee to do it soon. Well, soon turned to August. So those strawberries are going to turn into jam. Our garden did okay this year. It wasn't the best year for strawberries. And when we went to try to go pick some at the local farm we normally go to, they closed up because it wasn't a great year. So not wonderful year for strawberries. But here I am placing the strainer over the pot, and we're gonna go ahead and dump them in. I got my jars and my canner, and I'm gonna turn those on so they can warm up. And I'm gonna start to simmer these strawberries when they finish draining. I am using one of those packets of pectin that calls for a ton of sugar. I try to use other methods for strawberry, but my family, including my extended family, they like this method. Only the liquid pectin. They don't even like the powder pectin for strawberry. So I stick with what they love, give them what they love. And so all these jars will be spread out over about 4 different households. So please don't fret, guys, when you see this amount of sugar. It's a lot, but it's a lot of people that's going to be enjoying these jars over the next year. So I'm going ahead and mixing in those 7 cups of sugar and pulling out my immersion blender. I finally put on an apron. Somebody left a comment and said, "Don't you have an apron?" I finally put on one because I really don't want that strawberry jam on my shirt and then I can't get it out. So we like our jam on a chunky side, but not huge whole strawberries. So I'm using the blender to go ahead and mash up the pieces so that as it cooks down, they'll break down even more. So once the jam has come to a rolling boil, we'll go ahead and put this packet in. It only needs to come to a rolling boil, hold for 1 minute before we begin to place it in jars. And once we get them in jars, we just will water bath can it, I believe, for 15 minutes and then let them cool. Does your family have a favorite jam? Does your family have preference on exactly which method to use for that jam? I know that for strawberry and grape, my family has a lot of opinions, and I'm talking extended family. They want a particular consistency, they want a particular jar that is in, and they have definitely preferences for the quantity that they want on their shelves. I have officially taken over my grandmother's role as the family canner. I'm not quite sure if I'm happy about that yet, but at least I get to fill my pantry first before I fill like 4 other family members' pantry. So I guess I'm not complaining too much, but I'm pretty sure if you guys are new to canning, you haven't been designated as a family canner. But for those who have been putting food on the shelf for a while, I'm pretty sure you have something that you cannot get away from. There must be something that your family's like, you better make this year. I want some, so and so wants some, and next thing you know, you're elbow deep in your family favorites. Please put a comment below. What are your family favorites that you are stuck canning every year? So outside of jam, I'm stuck making pickle relish and salsa. Those two are other ones that I seem to have to make a bunch of batches and then share. I wanted to give a tip. If you're water bath canning, especially in a pressure canner, turn it off. Okay? Because it's a rolling boil going on. Hopefully you saw all that steam coming out. And you need to turn it off. Because if you open that lid, it will siphon out. If you're brand new to canning, siphoning is when the product that's in the jar starts to push up past the flat lid out of the ring and onto the jar. The pressure or the temperature change starts to happen when you open a very hot canner to maybe your cool kitchen. And don't try to determine if inside of your pot and your kitchen are the same temperature. Don't even mess with that science right there. Just turn your burner off. Let it stop boiling. Then take your lid off and pull your items out the canner. I have had siphoning so bad one time because I was rushing and I got half of the product just pouring out of the jar while it was cooling on the counter. It made a sticky mess. Lesson learned, do not be in a rush. Take your time. Let that canner cool before you pop that top. Not to mention, this bad boy is hot. And it's just water bath. I did not pressure can. It's just hot. So let that bad boy cool down enough to pop that lid and take those jars out so you can have wonderful jam later on that's full in the jar. Okay, now I'm heading out the door because I need to go see if the farmer still has tomatoes. Vacation kind of threw things through a loop, so we're praying they still have tomatoes because I got 2 products that we have to do every year and that needs to get done. So come along, let's go shopping. Well, I headed over to the farmer and guess what? They are completely out of tomatoes in bulk purchase. So we had to go to our second source that we use for bulk purchasing and place an order with them. So it'll be another week before we're able to get the half bushel of tomatoes so that we can get our annual supply of tomato sauce and salsa. So stay tuned to that because I definitely will share that process. My family typically goes hands on deck when we get that in. So it should be mighty fun as we sit back and laugh and make a huge mess. I don't think we do a good job canning tomatoes neatly at all. This is my son playing with his water aqua rocket or something like that. And he builds different car shapes with my parents and then launches it out. But it has been a wonderful week of getting out in the garden under those blue sky. I hope you guys are preserving something. Drop by next Sunday and Thursday for the next batch of canning. Take care.